The statue of William of Orange on the harbour side at Brixham commemorates his landing here in November 1688. Nearby is a replica of Sir Francis Drake's Golden Hind, and in the harbour the modern fishing fleet. Brixham has always had good connections with the outside world by sea, but it wasn't until the arrival of the railway at nearby Churston in 1861 that moving things by land became economically viable. The station here on the Dartmouth and Torbay Railway was first called Brixham Road, but it was still a couple of miles from its namesake. So pressure grew from Brixham to have its own branch line and station. It opened to passengers at the end of February 1868, curving off to the right in this shot. New housing covers the first 400 yards of the Brixham branch line until you get to the first bridge under Bridge Road. We're 225 miles and 22 chains from Paddington Station in London. The 2-mile-long line is fairly level, first in a cutting and then later in an embankment running parallel to Bascombe Road. A few hundred yards on, and this is the partially demolished bridge across Elbury Lane. It's hoped the old trackbed can be converted into a heritage trail. Work has already started on this, where the line crosses Churston Road. The driving force behind the construction of the Brixham branch line was Richard Woolston. He bought most of the shares in the Torbay and Brixham Railway Company when it was incorporated by Act of Parliament in July 1864. He then pushed to get work completed after the contractor went bust during construction. Although an independent company to start with, the Brixham line became part of the Great Western Railway in 1883, and was then converted from broad gauge to standard gauge 9 years later. The route now turns east under Copythorne Road. As well as passengers, initially the main traffic on the line was fish. During the Second World War, locally made camouflage paint and munitions were carried. Trains through here also transported aviation fuel from storage tanks in the harbour to RAF stations all over southern England. From here, the line crossed open land and through what's now the playground in North Boundary Road. Houses have been built over the line, but you can still see on this map how you can follow the route between Pillar Avenue and the industrial estate towards Northfield Lane. There was a bridge over there by the bus stop and shelter. This garden sits on the corner of South Fursum Road, part of which has been built on the former trackbed. Brixham Station was built high above the town in order to keep the line from Churston as level as possible. The single-storey wooden station buildings were on the right of this bridge. Up until 1961, trains were steam-hauled and the station had a runaround loop so engines could be moved from one end of the train to the other. This is roughly where the station entrance was, next to the recreation ground. Housing has now been built on the site of the engine shed, goods facilities and signal box. In the final year of operation, a weekday-only service of 26 trains operated on the line, with a journey time from Churston of 7 minutes. Behind the wall on the left of this shot were 5 sidings and a coal yard. There are few reminders of the railway in Brixham today. It finally closed, beaten by road transport, in May 1963.